What's going on, guys, and welcome to a relatively short video, I hope, today, because there's not a whole lot that I have to say here. I want to get some quick thoughts out there, a lot of stuff you've all probably heard before, mostly for the sake of the people behind this game, and less so for the sake of a video. I know that's kind of weird, I don't normally do that, but this was one of those games where I just couldn't really come on here and be really mean, because it doesn't have a whole lot of people playing it, and I also don't really think it deserves it. But it also runs into a whole bunch of pitfalls that just made me not really want to continue playing, caused me to quit, and so I want the people behind it to know why I did that and hopefully stop other people from doing that. Anyways, today's game in question was requested by someone in my Discord DMs, as kind of per usual, and that game was Critical Revengeance. I'm not even entirely sure what I would call the genre of this game, but I will say that it's very interesting, and I hope that they continue to work on it and improve it to the point where I do want to come back to play it, because it's very unique compared to a lot of the other games I've played. I'm not at all against the gameplay style that they went for, and I think that their gameplay style is really cool. I also think that a lot of the systems in the game could have been really cool if they were executed better, so that's the idea of talking about it today. Anyways, if you're looking at the combat on screen now, this is the basis of the game. Basically, you can't necessarily attack per se, but when little orbs show up in the circle around the enemy while you're fighting them, you can pick up the orbs, and those orbs will determine what attack you do. So it's a lot more about avoiding enemy attacks and not running into obstacles than it is actually aiming and using attacks, which I think when it comes to a gameplay perspective, I've played 1,000 games where it's just block, parry, dodge, attack enemy. Whereas here it's basically solely dodge, and a lot of the attacks are a lot more oppressive compared to a lot of those other games because they don't need to build in any sort of attack window. I think that's super cool. I really enjoyed the combat here, and running into this hard wolf enemy towards the end of the first area of the game really made it clear to me that this can be incredibly difficult later on, and incredibly cool, requiring you to potentially have to either buff up your stats or get good. Obviously, in this case, this thing is way out of my wheelhouse, and I didn't feel like throwing my head up against the wall for 30 minutes, so gonna pass on that one, but the proof of concept is there, and that's what I think is cool. Covering the entire area with spikes and making effectively an obstacle course out of the arena, all the while requiring you to still get attacks in, is super interesting. So really, when it comes to the combat itself, I don't think I have any complaints. It's cool, it works, nothing. The real problem with the game comes from its premise itself, which appears to be very lacking right now. Now, obviously, the game is in testing, and so, well, that's why I'm being critical of it. So keep that in mind when I say this, but logging into the game right now, and there's really no reason to push forward aside from I enjoy the gameplay, and that in of itself is not a good way to get people invested into your game. There needs to be some sort of hook, some sort of reason to keep people interested in playing aside from just number go up. And I know that sounds rich because games like Grow a Garden have 8 bajillion players and their entire gameplay loop is just number go up. So you're probably looking at this and you're thinking, Eclipse, you're an idiot. Of course, number go up is the best way to make the game work. And then I would raise you, okay, well then why is this game at 29 players instead of 29 million players? When I do my critiques of games, I don't even consider the clicker games, the AFK games. If we're talking about an actual game that requires you to be present and pay attention to the game in front of you, having a hook in the game, something that makes you invested in the game and wants you to keep playing, that's what this game needs desperately and doesn't have. Even if it's something as simple as, hey, the starter town is under siege, and the culprit of the starter town being under siege is some big bad, and they're 1,200 levels away. Is that absolutely ridiculous, and is that going to be a great hook for the game? No, obviously not. But it is something. There is some goal of, hey, I want to go take out this thing so that way our town isn't under siege anymore. Some level of investment into the game other than just, I want to increase my stats. Because at the end of the day, there's 400,000 games like Blox Fruit where you just increase your stats, and that's the goal. And so setting yourself apart from that, I believe, is really important. Now, in terms of the map itself, I was pretty impressed, as it doesn't seem like the map is an absolutely massive empty wasteland, as in so many other games that I've played. Maybe I'm wrong, because I only really got to the first 2 main areas of the game, and I'm not entirely sure how much more is present here, but at least in the areas that I was in, it felt pretty condensed while still being a respectively large open world. So that I can be extremely thankful for, as it seems like a lot of these games run into the massive empty wasteland problem. I'll also say I was thoroughly impressed by the aesthetics of the game while first logging on and having it be snowing, seeing the snow fall from the screen and all of these little sparkles around. It was really cool. I'm a big fan of that. Now, moving back over to the problems in the game, let's talk about the basically main staple of this game, and that's crafting, which in my opinion falls flat horribly. This is supposed to be the main part of the game, and it has some major, critical, sweeping issues that I'm completely unsure how any of this wasn't considered at any point. I genuinely am almost at a loss for words at how poorly this is executed. And I'm not saying that to be mean, I promise you. It's just, well, the truth. The number one problem with crafting in this game is that you do not know what you are crafting. So, somebody, I guess, didn't think that you should be able to see the stats of the thing that you're crafting. Which, I don't know about you, but if I'm crafting something, I'm probably gonna wanna know what the thing I'm crafting is about to do. If there's a button somewhere that shows you what the crafting recipe does, that'd be fantastic. And I'll eat my words, or maybe I won't, because it's clearly not obvious enough in the game in order to figure that out. Editor's note. So after watching my footage back, I noticed these little 1, 2, and 3 buttons right next to the craft button and figured maybe that's where it tells you. And it turns out that that's correct. That is where it tells you. Now, to be clear, I still stand by a lot of what I just said. I don't know if it's because of UI constraints, maybe it's because of mobile or something. Frankly, I don't know. But 1, 2, and 3 is not very good UI to let you know what are the stats of the items. And considering that I played for over an hour and it only took me finishing playing and looking back at the footage I already played, scouring it for the answer, I can safely say that the UI is not good and it needs some work. And the crafting does fall into another major pitfall, not only because you don't understand what you're making, but also in a lot of cases it can be hard to tell what exactly you need to kill in order to get the items to craft the things that you want. And this feels like something that could have so easily been fixed by just hovering over the item in the menu and having a little box come up saying what drops the item and at what % chance. And might I add, because I just felt like it, I decided to go to the wiki after I was done playing the game, and oh, what is this? The wiki tells you the percentage chances of all these things and where the enemies spawn. And just to be clear, if there are percentage chances here, then someone behind this game, you made this, didn't you? Somebody behind this game, you put the wiki together. Might I ask, why did you put so much time into the wiki instead of just putting it in the game? How? Why? What were you thinking? Seriously, like, it's not that complicated to just show the information that's on the wiki in the game. I swear to God it's not. You open up the craft menu, you hover over the slime essence, and it says slime essence, 3.3% drop chance from a green slime. Wow. That wasn't so hard, was it? I really, genuinely, I couldn't tell you. I don't know how this stuff happens. Now, another less glaring issue that I ran into was when it comes to classes and how they're handled. In a way, I kind of like this, and I kind of think it's cool, but also, I think it could use some tweaking. So basically, when you're wandering around the map, you can find these little spirits, and the spirits can switch your class from whatever you're currently using to a new one. The thing is that when you switch your class, you get basically put back to level 1 of that class, because I think that class levels are separate from each other. The issue is that if you get a class that you don't like, then you need to go all the way back to whatever class you had before and re-get that class. This doesn't sound too bad, except for at the beginning of the game, you start with the sword class, and in my case, I went all the way over to the mage area, got the mage class, but never found the actual sword totem in order to get the sword class back. What did this lead to? Wandering around the starter area for roughly 10 minutes until eventually I climbed up this little area, and it turns out that there's a starter town tucked away at the top of this mountain for some reason. I'm not entirely sure why they didn't just put this by the other shop, you know, right where you spawn, since it's the starter town, but what do I know about map design? Either way, I did eventually find the sword and re-equip it, which would help a lot considering that I didn't want to use the mage or the necromancer. But I think that the game would benefit greatly from if you went back to whatever class you got, it lets you reset to whatever class you had before you picked up the new one, which would completely alleviate all of this if you picked up something you wouldn't want, instead of potentially having you have to travel all the way across the map to get something back, or in my case, have no clue how to get something back and just be severely nerfed for the class you don't want to use. At the end of the day, while this is a kind of neat game, I can't really recommend you go try it out. There's just not nearly enough stuff here, and there's too many glaring issues that require wikis in order to solve that I can't endorse it, but I can say that I do hope for the success of the developers and that they continue to work on it so that way someday it can be something worthwhile. Anyways, that's all from me. So, of course, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like, subscribe. If you didn't, don't. And with all that being said, have a wonderful day now wherever you are, and I'll see you guys next time.